All right, everyone, everything is up and running and looking good. Welcome, welcome. Great to see all you guys here in this Easy Algo training today. In today's session is going to be super exciting because I'm going to be covering a lot of the things, the new advancements in the group, the new updates, and I'm going to be running you guys through how to use them all, how to make benefit of it all, and how all these new systems are working. And I'm also going to share with you the new screener, which I got from my coder today. It's looking complete. So I will be uploading that into the group after this training. And yeah, I've got some more exciting news for you guys as well. So this is going to be absolutely a fantastic session today. And then if you do have any questions, please make sure just to pop all your questions into the chat. And then I will keep checking in there just to make sure that I can answer all your questions and that you guys have clarity with any issues or understandings, whatever it is you need. Let me know. I want to make sure that I can provide it with you so you can get the most out of the group and out of the training, just out of everything. But as you guys have seen with the new advancements this week, it's been absolutely amazing with this new bots and bringing us these narrow pivots. You know, it's just taken the game to another level for all of us, which is super, super cool. First of all, let me first start with a bit of excitement. So can you guys all hear me okay? I just want to double check. Am I coming through okay? Can you see my screen? I've got TradingView open over here. Just want to first check that it's all good. Okay, fantastic. Awesome. Well, let me give you guys some excitement. So the long-awaited screener is finally ready. If you can see over here on the charts, this is it over here. We're still working on a few little adjustments to it, but basically this is how it's going to work. You know, we've simplified it a lot. So as you can see, you can insert 13 tokens into it. TradingView's got limitations, so you can't put more than 13, especially with pivots, because we're scanning dailies, weekly, and monthlies. So it had a bit of restrictions, but the way I see is going to be the best way to use it is that on the Discord, when you get those bot automated signals bringing to us, you know, the dailies, the weeklies, the monthlies, and then we can bring those ones and we can pop them in here and then we can monitor them. So how this works is that if it's green, it means it's above the daily. If it's yellow, it means it's in the middle of the daily. And if it's red, it means it's below the daily pivot. And this is how it's going to function for the daily, the weekly, and the monthly. And then it will let you know if that pivot is narrow or wide. So you can see over here, I was just testing it with these few tokens. I just got it back now recently, so I haven't even had that much time to quickly test it out. But so far, it's looking really good. After the training, I'll just spend a bit of time testing it, making sure it's good. And then if all is good, it looks like I will upload it. But you can see at a glance, you can understand exactly what's going on within the tokens. Okay, I've got some Forex here as well, but I would add a few other tokens. Like for instance, let's add a few on here now. So you double click on here. It's quite nice because even though it's got only 13, you can add multiple ones to your chart. So you can add maybe 4 of them to your chart, and then you can have one in the right-hand corner, one in the left-hand corner. So you can still end up putting 40 or 50 or 60 on your chart. So you can monitor a whole bunch of tokens at once, which I think is going to be the easiest way to do it. And yeah, these over here are basically all the pivot details. It's taken me a long time to get this right, you know, because I've had to test hundreds of tokens. Literally the last week I was just testing, you know, fine tuning for the monthly and weekly, and we got very accurate over here. I might still play around with it a little more to improve it, but for now it's looking very accurate. So then if you want to add, for instance, you can come in here, you can add from any exchange that you want to add. I trade mostly in Bybit, so I add perpetuals from Bybit, and I'll just fill these up quickly to give you guys. I've got my list on the right, so I'm just going to quickly add all of these in here. It's going to be great, guys, because once we load this in here, we'll be able to monitor, you know, our tokens that we want to trade. You know, whether you have a standard amount of tokens that you trade all the time. Like I know there's some guys that only trade like 4 or 5 tokens and nothing else. Then you can load them in here. You can monitor them on a daily basis. Or if you like to trade different tokens all the time, like I do, then you can go into the Discord. You know, you can go into the narrow pivot section, and you can grab a few and pop them in here and then monitor those throughout the day. I think it's going to be a great addition because it can really give you an idea of the trend, how the trend is moving. Okay, let's do one more, IMX. So you can see it's very easy to use. You just put in all the details. There's not much more to it. Then you can choose how many you want to scan. If you only want to look at 5, let's just say you can turn it to 5, and then it will only show 5 of them. Otherwise, if you want all 13, you can have all 13. Then I've also created this mobile view because it's not compatible with mobile. If you're looking at it on your phone, you just want to select the mobile view function, and then it will customize it to fit on the screen so it looks good when you're viewing on the mobile. And then you can see over here, we've got a lot of tokens are wide on the monthly and wide on the narrow, but then you can see over here we've got narrow daily, wide weekly, wide monthly. So this will help us find best assets to trade. You know, if we can find one like this, CFX, it's a narrow daily and narrow weekly, which this could be a good trading setup. It's also green, which means price is over the daily and the weekly pivot, which is showing bullish. So this is a nice way to quickly identify the trend, and then we can go to that asset and trade accordingly, you know, to the strategy. And then on the other hand, you know, if it's fully red, we'll start looking for shorts. So, you know, it can really, really help us. You know, like Trendex is an amazing tool to understand the trend of the market, and these narrow and wide grids, guys, they are super effective. So this is the one level of the scanner. I'm also working on another scanner at the moment, which is going to be a little bit more advanced. You know, this was the first phase, and this scanner integrates with TradingView, which is great. So I can give you all access to it very quickly and easily, and it's just a nice little addition. The new scanner that I'm working on is actually an application for your phone, and it's a little bit more advanced, but it's based on the same principles. So what it's going to do is you will install it onto your phone, and then it will give you the option to select multiple exchanges. So you'll be able to select Bybit. I wish I could show you it now, but there's no way I can show you. It's on my phone, the first phase of it, but it should be ready in the next day or two, which is very exciting. And what it will do is it will scan your exchange. So whether you Bybit, Binance, whether you are on KuCoin or BitGet, there's 5 different exchanges that integrate very nicely. And you'll click on the exchange. So imagine over here, there will be a button of all the exchanges. You'll click on Bybit, and then all of a sudden it will scan every single token of Bybit in this fashion. So it'll give you your 200 tokens, and immediately it'll show you exactly what we've got here, except just with a bigger amount of coins. And it'll be more, it'll be in real time. So it'll download the data onto your phone quite quickly, and then you'll be able to scan through it. But there'll also be a filter function. So you'll be able to click on filters, and it'll immediately bring all the ones that have the narrow charts to the top of the search function. So it'll bring all your narrow daily, weekly, and monthlies, and it'll be a very nice tool because it'll also help you be able to look at the whole sentiment of the market. If you scroll through, imagine you're scrolling through 200 tokens like this, you'll be able to see, like, is it mostly green? Is it mostly red? Is it half green, half red? You know, it's going to be an excellent tool for scanning market sentiment, as well as just finding the best trading setups. You know, if you find ones that have a narrow daily, narrow weekly, and narrow monthly, you know that asset is going to be very, very, very trending, you know, big market movements. So this will be a great way to, you know, especially when the market opens at 2 a.m. my country. I'm not too sure what it is in your country, but as the market opens in your country, you can open the app and you'll be able to immediately scan through all those dailies and be able to trade, you know, the top tokens relatively fast, you know, and you'll get an edge in the market because we're going to get access, you know, the indication will let us know when we have a narrow pivot at the moment the market opens, which is going to give you guys such a big edge, you know. And then in the group, if I go into the group quickly now, and then in the group over here, we've got these narrow pivot signals over here. I'm going to go through all these to show you guys exactly how to make the best of it now and how we can apply it to the charts. Because I know there's a lot of new people. I've also been receiving a ton of questions about how this all works. So I'm going to make a nice explainer. And then if you guys have got any questions, let me know as well. So as you know, we've got these new automated signals, which basically I've created this bot that scans the market as well. It'll be the same bot will be linked to the app for your phone, except it'll just be giving it to you in a different format, a very nice format. We've been working with this coder, guys. It's going to be next level amazing. Like I've been literally putting so much energy into it. But as you can see, like the market opens here 2 a.m. and okay, sometimes it's a little bit delayed. So sometimes you might get it 5 past or 10 past. It'll scan the market and then it'll send them all in. Now, these will be all your narrow daily pivots. So the best pivots to trade are generally the narrow ones because they make big movements and, you know, it's high probability that you're going to have good success rate on these. So you'll get notified of these and then you can come grab them and then go to your charts, put them in your charts, and then you can trade accordingly with indicator, with the Trendex, you know, according to the strategies that we teach. And then you can see the weeklies will pump into the Discord once a week. And I've just changed the format. You can see previously it had this TC, PP, and BC, but so many people were asking me questions about this and it was confusing so many people. And it's not really that important for you to know these details unless you were going to go onto the chart and mark these up by hand. So I just took them out and made it super simple. Now it's just going to give you all of these. And some of these have made amazing moves, guys. Look at WIF. I don't know if you guys saw WIF. I spoke about it on the last training on Monday. It did insane movements. And guys, we were notified first. Like, we get this information at the market opens. So we have a massive edge. You know, we can almost see into the future with these because these are leading indications. You know, Trend X and Indicator X are leading indicators, whereas the TDI-X is more volatility. It's not a leading indicator. So they go hand in hand, but we have a massive advantage with this. And it's taken me months, guys, of research and figure out to get to this point because we have pioneered here. We're the only group in the whole of crypto that operates with this function, which is so exciting to know that no one else does this. This is the only place you will be able to have access to this narrow pivots automation, like at the market open. You know, before this happened, guys, the last couple of weeks, I've been spending hours looking for narrow pivots, like hours. So it's going to save us all tons of time and just bring to our attention the best tokens to trade. And then we've got the same on the monthly, you know, and then we've got the combos. The combos, as you can see, I've color coded it, and I'm going to update the Trend X colors through. So when you open up Trend X, the default setting will be, the light blue will be your daily, the weekly will be yellow, and the monthly will be red, so that it will coincide with these signals and with the combos. So you can see here we've got the blue, which is the dailies, and we've got the yellow, which is the weeklies. So CFX, like when we got the signal, and probably, that was today. So CFX has got a narrow daily and a narrow weekly, and these combos can be excellent ones to trade because it's just showing that there's a stronger confluence. Like you can see over here, we've got a narrow monthly and a narrow weekly, and then we can put those on our chart, or we can put them into the TradingView screener, which I'm going to give you guys today. And then all you have to do is monitor it every day. You have to monitor the daily pivots. Either when you get the signal, you want to enter obviously on the pivot, and I'll go into the charts just now. We'll go through some examples of how we will take this information from here onto the chart and what to do with it, because a lot of people have been asking me about setups, and guys, honestly, with this, it makes it very easy to set things up, to create setups and pretty high win rate setups, with low drawdown, and even if it does have drawdown, the stop losses are very, very low. So I'll show you all of that in a moment. So we can go through here, check out the combos, and then over here I've got the volatility signals. Right now, at this moment, there seems to be an issue with the delay of the signals. I get these signals from a different company. You see, so the narrow pivot signals is my own code with my coder. It's my own automation. These volatility signals is from another company, as you can see over here, called Orion Terminal. and for some reason they're sending them delayed. I've been in contact with them, so they're trying to fix it and figure out what is going on, because it's coming very late. Like you can see, this is a signal I think from yesterday already. So for now, I might just close this down just until we get it working again. I don't know what is going on, but I'm on it. So I'm chatting to the guys, and they are on it as well. So we're just trying to figure out, it's an issue on their side, not on our side. So just want to get some clarity on that. Just going to quickly check if there's any questions so far after what I've explained. You can use a phone emulator to show on your mobile. Okay, yeah, I would have done that, but I'm not quite sure exactly right now. Filter for market cap would be great. Yeah, we can work on different filters. You see, once we have this app up and running, I can add anything else to it. I can add volume. We can update it quite a lot. So we'll definitely work on updating it, and, whatever new ideas, the people I work with are very innovative, and the coders I work with, and so am I. So constantly looking to improve and make things better and easier, and it will grow a lot. It's like for all of those guys who've been in the group since the start, it's only been 2 months, and I'm sure you've seen how much things have grown already, and I'm sure it will continue to do that as well. Here's another question. It's a Beyond 3D indicator, multi-dimensional. Exactly. It is basically a multi-dimensional indicator. And like I said, we're the only people in the whole of crypto to be doing this with the narrow pivots. I actually got this idea from Forex, because I was involved in Forex for a while, and, you know, a few Forex traders introduced me to the pivot trading. Now I've taken that concept and I've moved it into crypto, where it doesn't really exist. And then I've taken it further by obviously creating the bots and the application and all those things. So it makes it very easy, guys, and I'll walk you through the process in a moment. And then I created a room that a lot of guys were asking me for over here. It's called the Trade Setups Room. A lot of guys were saying, can I create a room for everyone just to post charts and not to be able to post messages? Because they say that in the traders chats, they're posting setups, but it's getting lost in all the communication, which I understand. It is getting lost. So there's this trade setups group. It's made so you can only add images. So you can't type text or anything like that. So far, no one's posted anything in here. I'm not even 100% sure if I've tested it. I've done a check and it looks like it's working, but maybe everyone's afraid to post in here. I'm not sure. So let me know afterwards if it is working. But a lot of guys were asking for this. Then you can, everyone in the group can help everyone else. If they spot something cool, post it in here, guys. I encourage you to post your charts, because it's a very good practice. You post your charts, and since you can't do writing in here, just annotate it with entry, exit, stop loss, and you could even put a few confluences. Maybe you could be like, it's above the weekly, above the daily pivot, and on top of a narrow pivot or something like that. But yeah, it's a very good practice to begin to post your trades. Whether or not it's going to win or not, you've just got to take it. There are always going to be losses in trading. And the more confident you can feel by posting your setups. Like, I remember when I started trading, I was so scared to post setups. And the more you do it, the more confident. And you'll see by posting setups and marking up your chart, it will make you a more confident trader as well. And if we've got a group is growing nicely now, we can all work together to show each other good setups that we find and potential ideas. And then everyone in here can just be flooded with amazing ideas. And I'm going to also start posting more setups. I've got a section over here where I post as well. I posted something that came onto my radar today. The standard, like I saw that price got on top of the weekly grid, and it was a super narrow daily. I haven't actually even checked this yet, but I mean, this is one of the top confluences, what we teach. If it gets onto a weekly grid and it's on a super tight, I mean, this weekly is not wide, not super wide, but because this daily is super narrow, and this say is also looks like it's breaking out. I also ran this through a bunch of guys at Crypto Banter, and they said it was also a very good trade, fundamentally. So yeah, guys, I will be posting more in here as well. The last week or two, I haven't even traded much because I've been working day and night on all these indicators. You have no idea how much time it actually takes. Like, some nights I was up until like 2 a.m. just, testing and sending stuff. So it's so exciting to know it's coming to fruition, and then can start actually working now on actually applying all of this and working together, helping each other find the best signals, and, inevitably just want to make trading as simple as possible. And so we can all start winning and make it a great success. All right, so let me open up my chart and let me show you. Okay, so what you'll do, guys, you'll receive these. For the people that don't know, and even for the people that do know, we'll receive all these signals into the group. You can come in here if you want to find trade ideas. You don't have to search on the charts anymore. This will just simplify it. You can just come in here and you can look at these over here. The daily pivots you can trade. If you just want to day trade, you can look primarily at those. Otherwise, if you want bigger trades, weekly and narrow will be more swing trades. Otherwise, if you find a confluence of all of them, then you will definitely find very trending coins like WIF. I'm actually going to go through WIF because I actually spoke about WIF. It was on the weekly. I spoke about WIF on Monday, and I even showed a place where you guys could re-enter, and I think it exploded. So all I did was I got WIF from here, and then I went to my chart. Let me just update this the screen sharing to my chart. Here we go. So then I came on here and I added WIF. I'll take the screen off for now. And there you can go. I mean, look how nice and thin that narrow pivot is. I mean, that is super thin. When you see pivots like this, guys, you often get these very big explosive movements, and it happens quite common. If you go and backtest off a weekly or a monthly pivot, you'll see that it often makes very, very big movements. So this is what I was looking at. Okay, wait, let me put on these details as well. On Monday, okay, this was Monday. On Monday, when we actually spent the whole of training on Monday going through this chart because it was just such a good example. On Monday, when I spoke about this, it would only gotten to over here. That's as far as it gotten. Can you believe it? And then I said to everyone, if it breaks this previous week high and resistance one, this would be your next entry. This would be your next entry. And look at this, guys. It broke it. It broke over here. Took a while to break it, and then it suddenly, had this big candle, and then it just took off. So it's just showing you guys the power of these narrow pivots, and especially when you get a pivot this narrow. Then let's turn on the monthly. Is the monthly on? Okay, there's no monthly on this coin because it's a very new coin. Oh, there it is. So exactly. So this is what I actually saw. So it had reclaimed the monthly pivot. So all I did was, guys, to get this, I went into the signals in the bot room. I got one. I got WIF out. I checked it out, and immediately it showed me there was, but when I had seen it, it was already over here. So sometimes you might find a signal and you'll get to it, and it'll be you'll be a little bit late, because the best place to enter on the weekly pivot is on top of the weekly. So like this would have been our best place to enter on the weekly. Stop loss would have been under that low. We would have entered as we got this nice candle break above the weekly. And remember, guys, even though we get these amazing signals in the group, it's not going to be 100% all the time. The systems there's no system that is 100% flawless. Some guys in the group they send me messages saying this didn't work or that didn't work. And I'm providing the best tools that you can be provided with, but nothing will be 100%. Like we could have entered this trade and it could have just come back down and stopped us out. It is always a possibility, and you've got to be prepared, and you've got to accept that losses are part of trading. But the only difference is if you lose small. If you win big. And that's That's a motto for trading, you know, and that's why this is what's so great about the pivots, because you can actually have tight stop losses. Like over here, okay, we could have set our stop loss here. If the trade went against us, we would lose 4%. If the trade, you know, went in our favor, we're going to make 16% at the first take profits, 35% at the second, and 54%, you know. And look, it hit our take profit 3, it found rejection, but this coin was just so strong that it just kept going. You know, like for instance, if we looked at the oscillator, you know, guys, the oscillator will give you false signals if you don't trade in alignment with the trend number one or the context of what's happening in the chart. So like over here, you'll see it says sell. Now we can't just take a sell over here, because you can see we're in a very strong uptrend. You know, price is above the weekly pivot, it's above the monthly pivot, and it's got a very tight, narrow weekly, which is showing us that this potentially could be like a very big trending market. In that context, it becomes risky to just suddenly short if you see a divergence over here. You know, unless you are very, very like skilled and you have a lot of experience with divergence training and stuff like that, you know, you can't, even though it says sell, you can't just sell on that. You know, we have to take everything into context. So like my motto is I like to trade with the trend, and it's, if you are a beginner trader, I would strongly suggest just trading in alignment with the trend, because as soon as you start doing this counter trend trading, like you're looking for a short position on a strong uptrend, it becomes risky. And even though this might have worked, like if you had shorted over here, okay, you would have gotten worked out, because these are resistance areas where price can reject. Like you'll see, price came up over here. We did get a small rejection, and then price hit here, and we got a rejection at first over here, and then price shot up again, and then we got another rejection. But it was so strong, you know, it came back down, it tapped into this demand zone over here, and then it just carried on going. But when you have this kind of uptrend volatility, it's not advised to look for any shorts in the market, like unless you know what you're doing. You know, I'm just speaking for those who are new and those who are not skilled. You know, shorting, counter trend shorting on an uptrend, it takes a lot of skill, and you have to really know what you're doing. Otherwise, you can lose, you can lose your whole account, especially a coin like this that's kind of a little bit parabolic. I mean, look how this asset moved. You know, off the weekly pivot, we literally got 153% move, which is massive. And you know, like if you look at its movements, it was on a very strong uptrend all the way up to here. And then it started leveling out. And this is what price usually does. This is price's pattern, you know. Price doesn't always trend for long periods of time. If you understand how the market is moving, and if you backtest, you'll see we get trendy movements and then we get ranging movements. But price actually ranges more than it trends, a lot more. Like you'll find some tokens will range 70% of the time and they'll trend 20% of the time. You know, sometimes it'll be ranging 80% of the time and then trending only 20% of the time. But what this indicator is doing, and this is why these pivots are so amazing, they're helping you identify when a trend is going to start. And because we got a thin weekly pivot, this is telling us that this week, the whole week, is going to be a trending week. But within that, we're still going to get these ranging movements. So you'll see over here, price trended all the way up. I mean, off the grid, it pretty much took off the grid and trended all the way here, you know, 75%. And then it started to range. You know, it went into an upswing, a low swing, and then you can see we get this raining motion, and then it trends again. But I mean, this could have actually just been part of a bigger range, you know, because it's kind of like ranging, going up, ranging, because it's coming down to this level, you know, and then we get another movement up and it starts ranging again. So keep that in mind, guys, that price doesn't go up forever. It goes up and then it starts ranging. And this is where indicator X can be very useful. Like if you're a range trader, like indicator X is amazing for ranges. Like it's incredible. You know, I mean, we don't have to only trade on narrow pivots. Narrow pivots are just showing us, guys, like, if you get wide pivots, it doesn't mean you shouldn't trade it. It just means that it's a different market condition. So what these indicators are doing, they're helping you understand the market condition. And when you understand the behavior of the market, the condition of the market, you can trade according to that market condition. So for instance, I'll turn off the monthly and I'll just focus on the weekly. So when I was talking about this trade on Monday, I turned on indicator X and this is what we were looking at. We were looking at, I think I had the 5 minutes time frame on. The great thing about TrendX, guys, it is a price action tool and the pivots stay the same no matter what time frame you're on, which is actually such a blessing because most other indicators, when you change the time frame, it changes the indicator. So it looks different, like indicator X. If you go into a different time frame, it's going to change unless we set it. I spoke about this last week. Unless we set it on a specific time frame, and then indicator X will be fixed on that time frame no matter what time frame you go into. But what is nice with TrendX? TrendX stays the same no matter what time frame you're on. So right now we're on a 5-minute time frame. And in the past, if you didn't have TrendX, on a 5-minute time frame, you could get quite lost. One of the biggest challenges I've heard from most traders, running all the groups I have, is that they don't understand the market bias. They don't understand how to identify the trend of the market, the movement of the market, especially when people are trading low time frames. Like some guys will primarily trade on a 5-minute and they won't even look at a higher time frame, and they'll get wiped out so many times. But what is so amazing with TrendX is that I can be on a 5-minute time frame and I can look prices above the weekly pivot. So I can know when price is above a weekly pivot, it's going to be bullish. We know that the market is bullish and that we are in an uptrend. So I don't even have to go into a higher time frame to recognize that. I can be in my lower time frame and immediately I know if price is above here, if we get these contraction boxes forming and we get this range forming above this pivot, I know that I'm only looking for longs. Market is bullish. It's like as simple as that. There's no other criteria I need to go through to understand that the market is bullish right now. I feel, especially if we looked at the monthly, at this point, it's above the monthly as well. And basically how it works is this: is the monthly grid. There's a little bit of a lag, so it's taking a bit of time to come on. But the monthly grid, you'll see over here, at this point, we got above the monthly. That's the monthly grid over there. So we know that the monthly grid, guys, the monthly pivot represents the long-term sentiment. If price is above a monthly pivot, it's showing that it's long-term bullish. The long-term of the asset is bullish now. It's recovered up to this point where now it's become bullish on the long term. The narrow pivot over here, which is the weekly pivot, represents the midterm. So once it recovered this over here, it's saying that the midterm is now bullish. And that's strong enough. The midterm is strong enough bias to go off of. But if it reclaims the let me turn this off. If it reclaims the monthly pivot and the weekly pivots, then you can know for certain that the market is very, very bullish. You can know, you don't have to look at anything else. You can just see prices above the weekly, prices above the monthly. Now we're in extremely bullish territory, especially now because, the market is pumping. Bitcoin is it's about to break all-time high pretty soon, and I'm sure it's going to. And, if we look at most of the tokens right now, they are very, very bullish. I was scanning on the new screener on the app. I was scanning all the tokens in the market, and most of them are green, 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 showing that they're above weekly, they're above monthly. It's only the daily they go above and below. But the daily pivots over here. Okay, let me turn it on. The daily pivot represents your short-term market bias, the short term. So we've got the monthly, which is long term. We've got the weekly, which is midterm. And then we've got the daily, which is short term. So the daily represents short term price movement. If we have price above the daily pivot, it means we're short term bullish. If it's above the weekly, so I'm just going to open another chart just to, yeah, I found it very nice, just to find one that illustrates it like in order. Let's find this one. I think it was people. Yeah, let's look at people. This also did quite a massive movement today. You can see, oh yeah, okay. It's a very, you see, people it just recovered. It just got on top of the monthly grid. And remember, guys, today is the last day of the month, which means tomorrow we're going to get new monthly pivots for all the tokens. So first thing in the morning tomorrow, when you wake up, check out the scanning bot. It's going to bring to you all the nice monthly pivots to trade. And this is a way for us to really get excellent entries. The monthly represents these long-term entry points. If price is above the monthly at this point, we know long-term bullish. So this token over here, it's just gotten long-term bullish right now. Before this, it was inside the grid. So let me turn off the monthly for you and show you here. So you can see over here. And even though at this point it was inside the monthly, we still got these amazing weekly movements. Like, look here, price got on top of the grid, and we got this explosive movement from this token. It started out the month over here. So at the start, the week. It started the week underneath here. So at this point, we're not looking for longs. I mean, you can long. You know, there are other strategies. You can use the TDAX, but if you want, you know, I like to share strategies with you guys that are, you know, they have a higher probability of winning, especially for new traders. You know, we have a lot of new traders in the group, and if I start giving advanced stuff, you know, I want you guys to win. I want you guys to make money. So I'm just sharing with you guys high probability trade setup until you guys get more proficient and more skilled, and then you can start, you know, doing some specialized Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu moves in the market. You know, you'll see the more you trade, the more flexible you'll be as a trader, the more you'll be able to trade many different ways of trading. Because there's so many different ways to trade. You know, there's range trading, there's trend trading, there's continuation trading, there's reversal trading, there's so many different ways of trading. And, you know, a lot of the very good traders that I've met, they specialize in just one form of trading. You know, they have one setup, not all of them, but some of my friends who are good traders, like the guys at Banset, they focus on just one setup. And they only look, it's either reversal trading or only trend trading, or, you know, but obviously the more you get good at all these different forms of trading, the more versatile you can be as a trader. But with the tools that I'm teaching, I'm just teaching very, very standardized way of trading, you know, simple ways of trading where it's very simple, it's very easy, it doesn't take too much thought, it doesn't affect your emotions too much. And it's just very like ground floor trading styles. So you can see over here, price reclaims the weekly, and then it dips down. You know, remember guys, the middle pivot over here, it's the center of the pivot. This is the actual pivot. You know, if you guys have ever traded with pivots before, if you put just a very standard pivot on your chart, it's going to show you this pivot in the center. But what the Trendex is doing, it's breaking into a pivot range. So it's giving you a range of the pivot. So even if it's above this pivot, this is still a good side, because if you had to put on a normal pivot, this would be your entry on this pivot over here, on a normal pivot. But the advantages and the disadvantage of the normal pivot is they don't give us the range, which they can't show us if it's going to be a trending market or more of a ranging market. So it doesn't help in that area. But when we use Trendex, it's going to show us, you know, the range of pivots. So we've got the pivot high, the pivot low, and then the center pivot, which is the actual pivot. So in this scenario, you know, you can either enter on the center of the pivot or when it breaks out of the pivot. So this could have been an entry, that could have been an entry, this could have been an entry over here. You had multiple ways to enter this pivot region. And then you can see it kind of got up here, it dipped down, and then it just exploded as it got above this pivot, you know? And then you would have taken, you know, target one would have been, this is first resistance over here, this blue line. So you could have taken profit at this point or this point, and look, it hit this the previous week high, retraced back down, but then it broke out and it didn't come all the way over here. It still made a big movement. Like, let's see, 5%. Generally, the charts on the weekly and the monthly make bigger movements. So if you want to get these really big, juicy profits, you know, you do it on a weekly and a monthly pivot, but then they take a few days. Like you'll see, you would have entered here, it shot up here, and then it just ended up ranging, like I was showing to you before. So what price loves to do, it always makes a big movement and then it ranges. Like, and you can capitalize on this. This is where indicator X comes in handy, and you can see, look how perfect that is. You know, like, so if we anticipated that it was going into a range, and we can anticipate it, guys, because we know, like this is how price moves. Price shoots up, generally makes a big movement, then it ranges a bit before either making another big movement like that, or making a big movement down. You know, because we get this effect which is called rally, which is going up, and then a base, which is the range, and then we get another rally. You know, which is another trend. So we're getting trend, base, trend. And this is very common in the market. So if a token had made a very big move, you can wait for a swing high and a swing low, and then you can trade the range. And this is where indicator X is amazing, which I will go into a little bit more details just now. So this is one form of movement in the market, is you're going to get this continuation movement. You're going to get a rally, a base, and a rally, and this is a continuation trade. Other things that happen in the market is that you're going to get a rally up, you're going to get a range, and then you're going to get a drop. This is also very common in the market. We're in a very strong bull market at the moment, so this is very less likely to happen. It might still happen on some tokens, but I just wanted to show you the different ways that you can anticipate trading. We're going to get this rally up, which is a trend, and then it's going to range into a base, and we can anticipate this range trading as well. We can capitalize off of it, and then we're going to get a drop, which is also a trend, but it's trending downward. So we get an uptrend, a range, and a downtrend. This is a reversal. So the previous one I showed you was a continuation. This is a reversal. It goes up and then it goes down. So this is a reversal trade. Another form we can do, I mean, those are the basic two that we look for, is we're looking for continuation up or reversals up, or continuations down or reversals up, you know. So it's good to know that this is what price does. If you see price make a big movement, it doesn't go up forever, guys. Price does not travel up in a straight line. So it will go up, then it will start ranging, and then it will either go up again or it will drop. But in bullish markets like this, this is what you're going to see. So we know that, like, we know that price is getting at a point where it's going to start ranging, and then we can use indicator X to catch this range. And I'll show you on the charts here. So if we looked at trend X over here, okay, and I'm just going to take away all these blue lines just to show you examples. I mean, I'm always just giving you guys different examples of how to use it. At this point over here, the moment it got above the weekly pivots, we know that it's become mid-term bullish, and that's good enough. Like, you can just trade in confluence with the weekly. I always like to trade in confluence with the weekly. If price is above the weekly, then I'm looking for, if I'm trading on the daily grid, which is over here, then I'm looking to enter longs when price is on the daily grid. But if you were going to use indicator X in the example, so you can see over here, price shot up into a trend phase, and now it's ranging over here. See, it got all the way up here, then it came down to the swing low, and then we got this range happening. And it happened for a while, actually. It happened from the 27th of Feb till the 20th. So it's a whole day of ranging. When price ranges like this, and we can anticipate the range through this process I've just explained to you, we can turn on indicator X. And you can see indicator X is the ultimate tool for range trading, because when we're in a range on indicator X, it's basically saying we're in the expansion phase. Because like, remember guys, there are three phases in the market. I'm sure you guys saw that in the training. We get contraction, we get expansion, and then we get the trend phase. The trend phase we can identify with TrendX. TrendX can actually show us when the trend phase is going to start. Like you'll see, it jumped off the grid and it shot up into a trend, and then it started ranging. Now, obviously, within the cycles of indicator X, it's going to show you, we've got mini cycles. But over here, we can see we've got contraction, expansion. So this whole ranging phase in here is basically an expansion phase. All ranging markets, they go into consolidation, then it goes into expansion. And we've spoken that expansion is how the market makers accumulate positions and they liquidate you, they confuse you in the market. But since we have these tools, and since we can anticipate this is going to happen, because the more you can anticipate and understand how the market moves, as a core, as a standard, the more we can know what's going on, the more we can anticipate it, the more we can create this predictability. I mean, there's only so much you can predict in the market, but we can anticipate the movement that we can trade accordingly. So in this example over here, it goes into this range. And then if I turn on the TrendX, remember we want to use them in confluence, because indicator X works best if you understand the market bias. In the training, I gave many different ways to figure out the market bias. And one of the new ways I've been playing with is by using TrendX and primarily the pivots. So if I see that price is above the weekly pivot or the daily pivot or the monthly pivot, then I can open up TrendX and I can trade accordingly. Because price is above this weekly pivot over here, I'm immediately going bullish, because this is telling me that we're on an uptrend. The market is going into bullish sentiment. So if that is the case, then if I turn on indicator X like I've done here, and I see a master pattern forming above this pivot, my bias is immediately looking for longs underneath the value lines immediately, because it's all just adding up. It's showing me that above here, we're in bullish territory. So I know if this forms, and look, this contraction box formed above this weekly pivot. So I know if this contraction box is forming above the weekly pivot, I know that we're in favor to look for longs when price is below these value lines. So if we missed our entry, one of our entries would have been over here as price breaks on top of the pivot. That could be our prime entry. If we missed this explosive move of 15%, then we can just wait, for price to retrace, and we can wait for a master pattern to form. When the master pattern forms, it shows us there's another cycle starting. So within this phase, we can see there's another cycle starting. And then we look for entries below the value lines over here. Below the value lines over here. And remember, guys, it's not going to go on forever. This expansion phase does not go on forever. And then look here, suddenly it just drops into a trend phase. So you can see over here, we got this explosive move up, it ranged, and then we got this explosive move down. Pretty much almost identical, just a reversal of, price likes to mirror itself. So you can see big up, down, range, big movement down, because at this point, and this is also something to keep in mind, at this point, we were super bullish. So we had a lot of traders entering long positions in the market, and we had a lot of leverage traders entering in the market. So the reason this flush happened over here, was to take out all the leverage traders and to humble and collect liquidity from all the people who'd been entering longs over here. And this is something that has to also be anticipated. The the price doesn't go up forever. There's going to be a moment where there's going to be this drop, this liquidation happening. But if we had anticipated, we could have still accumulated our positions here and just had tight stop losses. The advantage of this, guys, is that you can see we would have been fine in this movement over here because we were only looking for long entries when price was below the value line. When price got below this value line over here, we would have only started looking for entries when price broke below here. And then price just dropped all the way here, taking out all this liquidity. Can you see all the red liquidity dots? It was taken out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is basically just taking out tons of people's stop losses all the way here. And the reason we get these big wicks is because of these liquidations that are occurring. So you can see price just shot all the way down, and then we got this massive reversal occur. If we turn on the, when we get these massive drops like this, and we get this extreme volatility, this is when the TDIX is very, very, very good tool to use. So you can see we got this big drop here. Price dropped into this oversold region. So many people were selling, was massive sell off that occurred. Price dropped into this oversold, and you see we got a very strong shark fin. It came up, but it did not come back into the blue band. As we've spoken about, the best time to enter is price comes back into the blue band. It came up and then it just dropped again, and then we got a divergence, letting us know that price was in fact going to reverse. This divergence happened exactly at this point. This is a context where it's really good to use divergences. When we get a big movement down and we get these liquidation wicks, and also, guys, like at this point, if I turn on Trendex, you can see price, it rejected the grid. It did not break and close underneath Trendex. I'm only on a 5-minute time frame, which is good. I'm on such a low time frame, but you can see the grid, the full-on pivot grid, price did not close underneath it. If price does not close underneath it, we still remain bullish. We only become bullish now when price gets under the grid and we start getting closed candles forming under the grid. So if we had noticed this, we would have seen there was this big sell-off happen, collecting all these liquidations, and then we get this massive wick. It's just drinking up all that liquidation, and it actually goes all the way back and reclaims this level, comes back down, and then reclaims the level, and then reclaims the level here again. So this could have been another entry. There's so many ways you can trade this, guys, and I'm just sharing the way I view the market. It's not the right, it's not the best way or the right way. There's no right or wrong way. It's just the way that I see the market, and I will just share it with you. And each person's got their own way to see the market. But with these tools, it makes it so easy. Like, for instance, over here, we could have range traded this, and we can use it. We can use it in combination. I love to use the TDIX in combination with Trendex. It's such a good system. So you can see right now we're looking at 3 different indications. Okay, we've got the weekly pivot over here, which is showing us the trend. Remember, like if you've done the training for Indicator X, step number 1 is market bias. This covers our market bias in a very simple way. Price is above the weekly pivot, we know, and look, okay, this is not the thinnest pivot. Okay, it's not a super narrow pivot, and this is precisely why price is doing what it did. Like it jumped up into a trend and then it came and it ranged. So we know when we've got a pivot that's a little bit wide, it's going to be more of a ranging market. If you look back at the previous token WIF, price just shot up and just kept going up and up and up because we had a very narrow weekly pivot. So it's showing us that whole week, if it's a narrow pivot, it's going to be a trending market. This is a different example. Here we have more of a wider pivot, which is showing us that there's going to be more of a ranging week. And you can see price shot up, and then look, it just ranged and ranged and ranged and ranged. So if we want to benefit from Trendex in a ranging market, we can turn on Indicator X. You can see because a wide pivot is going to show ranging market. If price is above the pivot and we turn on Indicator X, we know we're going to get this ranging movement. So it's just another way to use it. I'm just showing you that It doesn't always have to be a tight pivot. Tight pivots are good for training markets, and if you want to get like those big movements, that get big percentages. But if we want to trade with indicator X on a ranging market, we can just look for wide pivots. So, in the application that's going to be coming soon, you can scroll, you'll be able to scroll through every token in the exchange and you can find all the wide ones. And you can find on the app, it's going to show you wide ones that are above the pivot. So you're either going to get wide notifications of tokens that are above or wide that are below. If you've got a wide pivot and price is above it, you know it's going to be ranging. If you know it's going to be ranging, it's giving us some insight into how the market's going to move, which means we can turn on indicator X and we can trade accordingly. In this situation was the perfect example of what I'm explaining. We've got price above the weekly pivot over here. It's a wide pivot, so we know it's going to be ranging. Price shoots up and it goes into a range. So then we turn on indicator X over here and we can see we wait for our contraction phase to start. The contraction phase starts and then we just wait for price to be underneath the pivot. Sorry, not underneath the pivot, underneath the value line over here. And then we're also using our TDIX to confirm those entries. So at this point, guys, we are in an uptrend on the higher time frame. We know on the higher time frame, longs are in our favor. And these would have been all the opportunities we would have gotten to enter our long positions. We had quite a few opportunities. We had 1, 2, 3. Okay, this could have been an opportunity as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions before we got this massive drop off. And then we would have used the TDIX in confluence with this to be able to coordinate the best times to enter. So you can see over here, if we look at the TDIX, we're getting a shark fin and we're getting a super shark fin, which is showing a reversal. And that is what we're looking for. We know at this point where we're in an uptrend, so we know price is going to reverse. And if you guys have back tested these value lines, price comes back to these value lines many times. I mean, look here. Price came back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. In this range here, we had 11 times where price came back to the value line. And this is just another thing to anticipate and understand about how the value lines work. They are magnetic levels the price keeps coming back to. So we're just anticipating that price will come back to this value line. If we'd entered our first position over here, we know there's a very high probability at this point that price is going to come back to the value line because it's also the start of the cycle. Price, it just started over here. So we know there's going to be a couple rounds where price is going to keep coming back. And also because the weekly says we're in a ranging market, guys, it's always good to keep things in context. The more context we can have about the environment we're trading within, the easier it's going to be to make informed decisions about how to trade inside that environment. So then you can see over here, this would have been our entry and we would have targeted the value line, number one, or we could have targeted a liquidity line, and price didn't quite get there. You can see it didn't get that high. So you can see I've backtested this a lot. The safest place is on these lower liquidity lines, and this hasn't printed one over here, but this would have been one over here at the swing high point. These high liquidity range, they do get hit, but they don't get hit immediately. Like out of all the back testing I've done, price ranges below this and then only later on it goes and takes out like it did this. You will notice this pattern happening a lot that is playing out here. It does a high point, it ranges within that high points, and then eventually it will shoot up and take out this liquidity at the top. But it will only happen down the line. So if we want to trade safe, we want to and get the most out of this range trading, we can set, our target either at the value line or at the swing high, at the liquidity line over here, which didn't print on this one over here because I probably need to change my settings, but you can still see, like I know that this is a liquidity line over there. So you can set it over there and price would have hit it perfectly in that instance. Then I'd wait for price to come back below, which happened over here. But we didn't get a confirmation on the TDIX. So that would have been a little bit more risky. Then price goes up. Then we get this big drop down here. You can see it's taking out this liquidity. It's taking out that liquidity. And then we start getting these signs of divergence happening. And guys, I love divergences. Divergences is such an amazing indication. I strongly recommend everyone to learn them. Crypto Chris in the group, he is a master of trading with divergences. If you just have to, go through all his charts to see how he trades with them and start to use that strategy in your own training, it's going to help you a lot because it really helps you when price is underneath the value line. It helps you determine when we're going to get that reversal back to the value line. Because sometimes we don't know how far down will price go before it decides to reverse back to the value line. And that's why we use the TDIX to give us more precise entries as to when that will occur. And you can see over here, we got a few things happening. We got price tapped into this oversold region, and we got a divergence, and we got multiple divergences. Actually, you can see here, from this point over here, this is going down, and then price is just going up from this point. So this divergence could have been a strong sign to enter into this long position. Because remember, guys, our context is sorted. We know we're above this weekly pivot, which means we are bullish. Until price gets below this weekly pivot, my bias is bullish. And therefore, I'm looking for long entries. Of course, there's other ways you can trade this as well. Like we can go on over here. And we can look at the Heikin Ishii candles. As I talk about in the training, remember, we want to use all the tools. We don't want to exclude anything. So if you understand this quite well, you can see this was the point over here. Came on a very high time frame. If I went on to 1 hour, you can see as price dips down, we get flat back candles. So you can use the Heikin Ishii candles for confirmation. You can see over here, we've got this big breakout here, this big breakout. This would have been an entry on the grid, flat backs. And that is one method, but I'm just showing you a method where we're just using the pivots, which I find is a very good, strong, successful method, and it's very simple to use. So we would have seen this divergence over here. Price is above the weekly pivot. We are targeting the value line as our target one, which would have been an amazing 5%. Or we target the closest liquidity line. Remember, guys, we don't target these high up liquidity lines just yet because price will range and only take out these low level liquidities before it goes into high level liquidities. Because, price goes up, then it comes down. So in a ranging market, it's best to just do shorter trades. Otherwise, you got to have a strong temperament and be willing to see you go into profits and then lose your profits, and then go into profits and lose your profits. And, you will say to yourself, well, I went into profit and lost profit, went in, lost profit. If only I took profit, waited for another entry, took profit again, wait for another entry, I could have tripled my, the amount that I made, or 10x or 5x, and this is what we can actually do, especially in a ranging market. Because guys, we all want to enter a token and we want to see it go to the moon. But that is only going to happen when we're in a trending phase or in a trending market. So we have to learn to trade according to the context of the environment we're in. And because we've got a wide weekly, we know that there's going to be a range. And because we know that we usually get price will trend up and then it will range. And especially because we got a ranging pivot, there's more so that's going to occur. So we've got to remember that, because oftentimes what traders will do, they'll enter in this position and then they will want to hold for price to go to the moon. And then it will go up and down, up and down. I mean, look at this, okay? If you were a long-term trader, if you were holding here, okay, if you had entered a long position here, just imagine you didn't have the tools and the training that I'm teaching you now. Just imagine for a second you forgot it. Okay. if you entered all these positions and you're relatively a good trader, but you didn't have these tools that we have now, you would have entered your long positions here and you would have been holding to the moon. And then you'd get to this point over here and you would be completely liquidated. And this is what did happen to lots of traders, guys. This massive wick over here is a lot of liquidations occurring. So if you got into this position here and you decided you were going to hold to the moon, you would have been liquidated out of all your positions, gone. Instead of just taking smaller positions, like enter, exit at the value line or the liquidity line, it ends up adding up, guys. You end up making like a lot of profit. Like for instance, if we're just gone up to this liquidity over here, that's almost 3.5%. Then over here, we do the same. We enter over here at the divergence, at the value line or the liquidity line. I like to target, the closest liquidity line, the closest next liquidity line to the value line. So this would have been target 1, the value line, and the next closest liquidity line, which is this mini swing high, not this major swing high. So that would have been another almost 6%. And then over here, same thing happened again. If we looked on the TDX, we did not get a confirmation. We didn't get a shark fin, but there's other ways of entering. Like I like to look for entries over here. When price gets above, when you've got the middle line get above this 50 level, which is the middle line, that is entering strong bullish territory on the TDIX. So you can see at this point, price had just gotten above it. You can see here, you got the middle line came down, retraced, and then got above. So at this point over here, we could have even waited for price so you can see there's a nice gap between the middle line and the middle line and this 50 line over here, the gray line. That could have been an entry point over there. So we might have only entered at this point a little bit later on. I'm just showing you more confirmation. There's other ways of doing this. Like we could have seen the demand zone over here. If you know price action, and I'm definitely going to go more in the training in the future, more into demand zones and supply zones. If you had seen this, because you would have seen that there was displacement, and I talk about this in a lot of the trainings, there was displacement go up. Whenever you get this volume and displacement, it leaves behind a demand zone. So that demand zone could be a re-entry underneath the value line. So we can see prices under the value line. When price is underneath the value line, we can either look for shark fins on the TDIX, we look for divergences, or we can look for when price taps into demand and supply zones. Those are just multiple ways we can enter when price is under the value line, because remember, guys, we know we're above the weekly pivot. So we are looking for only longs at this point. And then we could target the closest, this would have been the closest liquidity line, which would have been a 3%, or you could have gone for this one over here, which would have been a 4%. So look, if you add that up, that's 3.5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14%. That's 14% we could have made in these little movements. Okay, this would have required for you to be sitting behind the computer. So I know a lot of people don't have a lot of time to enter trades and be more active, but you can automatically get your entry and you can set your limit orders over here. If you don't have time to get into your entry, set your stop loss, set a limit order over here or at the value line. The value lines is the most likely place price is going to get to. So this is like a 90% guarantee. This over here is like an 80% guarantee, but it is still very high percentages. And then you'll see it happens again over here. We get the same thing happen. We open the TDIX. You can see prices under the value line. We open TDIX over here, and we can see we get a shark fin at that exact location. Can you see it? We get a shark. These shark fins are super accurate in this context. So you'll see we got the shark fin happen over exactly at this point. So, maybe you only entered over here, which still would have been fine. Remember, guys, your entries don't have to be like super, super perfect. As you get more skilled, and CryptoCrisp is good with these entries if you want to get those super entries. But in the beginning, they don't have to be like super, super perfect. That would have been a good enough entry over there. Look, 1% stop loss, that's great. And you would have been targeting, this would have been the first next liquidity line. Otherwise, these would have been the high liquidity lines over here. And I mean, if you had targeted this would not have been in your favor. So like this would have been a liquidity line. Even this value line could have been an option, because remember, price loves going back to value lines. So it went back to this value line, then it goes back to this value line over here. But otherwise, if you were to be super safe, you would have targeted this area here for another 2%. Because remember, guys, like, cool, we can make super high profits, and sometimes if we greedy, and greed is a big thing, guys. Like when I started out trading, I was losing most of my trades, and I still get caught out in greed. Greed means that I want more than just this, I want this, I want that, and then oftentimes we want that, and then price almost gets there, and then it just liquidates us, and then it humbles us. Because you'll know, if you're a trader, trust me, you're going to be humbled multiple times. Nothing in my life has humbled me more than trading. There's nothing. Trading has been the most humbling experience. And if you've made big losses and multiple losses, and you'll know that losing money is extremely humbling experience. And inevitably, you become better at losing. You become a good loser. Trading will teach you that. And to become a good trader, you have to become good at losing. So it's one of the required skill sets, is become an excellent loser, become good at losing. Because whether you lose or win, it shouldn't affect your emotions too much. If you've ever done any like trading psychology about emotional intelligence with trading, is that if you make a big win, a lot of traders don't get too excited. If they make a big loss, they don't go into too much pain. They stay relatively neutral, whether they win or they lose. It's important to train your emotions to stay neutral, because you can get euphoric, like I explained. I explained it in the last session, but I'll explain it again. When we go, these value lines, guys, they basically are belief lines, and they represent emotion in the market. So when price gets above these value lines, this represents a euphoric level, because euphoria is created like, okay, let me play out a scenario for you. Let me play out a scenario perfectly for you here. So for instance, if you entered your long position, let's just say over here, okay, over here, or even over here, like it doesn't matter. Okay, let's just say over here. So say you entered your long position over here, stop loss was under the swing low, okay? Then price breaks the value line over here. Price breaks this value line right here. Now you're going into euphoria. You actually went into euphoria. As soon as you start going to profit, you go into euphoria. This is a pleasure emotion being produced in the body. So we're going green. We've got more and more pleasure. The higher we go, the more euphoria. Oh my God, 2%, 3%. Oh my God, 4%, 5%. And I'm sure you guys can relate. 6% more euphoria. You're feeling more euphoria. You're getting more excitement. You're feeling more pleasure. And when these pleasure responses are produced in the body, when these pleasure chemicals, because guys, like one of the biggest reasons traders lose is because of their emotions, which is, it's hardwired into us to feel pleasure and to feel pain. And with trading, it's so important to reflect upon yourself as a trader when you're trading, and to notice. If you can notice as a trader when you're going to pleasure or when you're going to pain, this is a very high awareness skill set as a trader. So in your trading, from this moment forth, just keep in the back of the mind to be aware of when are you feeling pleasure and when are you feeling pain. And when a person goes into pleasure, so say you go into pleasure now, this pleasure chemical gets produced in the body that causes you to become lackadaisy. Pleasure causes us to go into a lackadaisical state. It's a state where we become complacent. We become very relaxed. And complacency is one of the reasons why most traders give back their profits. So you'll see, you make all this profit, 6, 7%, oh my God, 8%, 9%, you're making 8%. If you got a good position size, 8% can be a couple $100. And a couple $100 is quite a lot of money, you can go into a lot of euphoria. And then you go into so much euphoria, you don't take profit because you want this thing to keep going to the moon. Because remember, guys, when you're in pleasure, our automatic natural state is to not want it to end. We want to keep pleasure going. We don't want to end it. So we don't take our profits, because as soon as you take the profit, it's over, So we leave it. And then what happens? Price goes down, 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 basically to entry. And now we start this whole cycle over again over here. Same thing happens. So now you've gone back. Now all that euphoria has gone down. And then the same thing happens again. We start all over again from this point. Then price goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up again. You're in a little more euphoria, 5% up. Okay, you don't take profit and it goes all the way back down again. So this can be an emotional roller coaster for a lot of people. They go into euphoria, they lose euphoria, go into euphoria. Okay, but then what happens is over here. So imagine this, right? Okay, we entered over at this point over here. We've gone into euphoria. Euphoria went all the way up. Okay, came down, but then went up. Now we're over here. So just imagine we're over here. We're in 7%, which is a lot, guys. 7% is a lot. If you're on 10x, you're 70% up. That's amazing. That's good enough to take your profits. But if you're in this high pleasure state, chances are, if you don't know what I'm talking about now, if you're not self-aware to recognize that you're in this state and understanding now, once I tell you this, you will be aware of it. So at this point, if you did not take profit at this liquidity line, and you didn't, you'd be in this lackadaisical state, euphoria is kicking in, and then look what happens. You get this big drop, boom. And now you're in the negative. And what happens when you go into the negative? Now it's not pleasure anymore, guys. Now you've got into pain. Now you've got a natural pain emotion. And the further down you go, look here, more pain, more pain, more pain. Depending on if you had set your stop loss like a good trader, you would have been taking out the trade here, and you still would have been in pain because you would have been like, oh my God, I was in 7% when I should have taken my profits. Now I'm in pain. Now I've gone down, And this is what they call max pain, max pain over traders, where they hit their stop loss. It's the most pain you're willing to endure before you exit your trade. But the thing to keep in mind is when you go into pain, it's a different chemical being produced. It's a chemical that causes very decisive action. Pleasure creates this relaxed decision making. Pain creates decisive action taking. So when you go into pain, you cut your trade immediately. You want to cut your trade immediately. There's more likelihood of you want the pain to end. When you're in pleasure, you don't want it to end. When you're in pain, you want it to end. So then you cut your trade. You cut your trade, you're out of the trade, and now you just went from being 7% in profit to being in loss. And that can affect your psychology dramatically. So it's always important to understand, take your profits. If you've got profits on the table and they're good profits, take them off the table. There's always a re-entry. And just notice, guys, when you're going into that lackadaisical, when you've got too much pleasure, too much euphoria kicking in, because greed, guys, greed will make you want to take profits higher. And this whole market it's psychology based. It's working off greed. This is greed. Everyone who entered these positions, everyone who entered, let's just say, everyone who entered long positions down here that wanted price to go to the moon, they got humbled. They got taken out. All of these people got humbled. The guys who were smart and understood this, they would have just taken profit, and you would have made 15, 20% profit on this range, just entering and exiting. So it's so important to understand what is the context of the market condition you're in, and to pay attention to your pain and pleasure threshold when it's occurring in live time. Okay, cool. I'm just going to quickly look at if there's any questions. I just walked you through a trade now. One of the questions was, can you walk us through a trade? I showed you exactly how to enter with TrendX, and I showed you how you would enter with the TDIX in context with TrendX. Here's another question. Can you please talk about the lifetime membership? When you did a banter school. Thanks. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to after this training, I'm going to talk about this lifetime announcement and a lifetime discount. I'm going to offer you guys in the group. But I'll mention that straight after this. I'll post it. And another question, Mathis says, Seth, are you keeping runner possessions in case a trade just goes on like Wi-Fi? I oftentimes take profits quite soon, guys. Like, because I've been humbled so many times, I will take profits and I will leave a very small percentage of my trades to run. Like, I've made and lost so much money, and I'm sure a lot of you have. So now I like to just, if I've got good profit on the table, I will take a good percentage of it and leave a small percentage, and then I will move my stop loss to entry or above entry. And then then it doesn't matter what happens. Okay, here's another question. If you keep runners, how big do you size them? So, like, if I enter a good position and I get to good liquidity lines, or Trendex take profit levels, I will take 30% off the table, and at the next take profit, I'll take another 30%. I will explain in more detail, okay, in the group or on the next training. I'll actually go into more detail about take profit levels and how much to take off the table, because it's also, a good strategy is to as price keeps going higher, and just to start taking price off the table. I believe in that very strongly. Okay, here's another question. Regarding shorts, are you placing short hedges in case a market gets overextended and you want to hedge for washouts like yesterday? If so, can you give some examples? In the current market condition, I'm not doing any shorting, to be honest. If price is above, and this is just my personal where I like to trade, and a lot of people might trade differently. In the current market condition, I'm mainly looking for longs. Unless price is getting to a very strong resistance level, like a daily swing high points, or very strong liquidity line on a higher time frame, that is the only time I will look to enter a short position at the moment, just because the market is super bullish right now, and like, alt season could kick in any moment. Bitcoin could break all-time highs any moment. So I would rather just be safer and not look for shorts in this kind of market condition, unless, like, there's a lot of coins to trade as well, guys. Like, there are a lot of scam coins, these low cap coins that will hit a liquidity point, then have a mass dump. So it also just depends on what coins you're trading. I can as well include that in my next training if you want, is to give examples of, hedging. Hedging is a great strategy to use, and I've spent a lot of time practicing hedging. So I can talk about that more for sure. Here's another question. Seth, would you recommend using a VWAP as an additional indicator that would work well with Easy Algo suite of indicators, or would that be duplication of suite indicators? I think a VWAP would be an excellent addition, as would a moving average be. And I actually have, guys, I have another indicator that I have been working on. It's a multi-time frame VWAP that works on multiple time frames, and I will introduce it into the group very, very soon as well. It's an indicator I used a lot. And now that you're bringing it up, it can be used in Confluence. So what I will do is, in our next training, I'll make sure that you guys have access to that indicator, and then I will show you how you can use the VWAP. Because the thing I love about the VWAP is it stays the same no matter what time frame you're on. It's very similar to Trendex. So if I've got you can select a daily VWAP, a monthly, or a weekly, just like Trendex. And then the VWAP lines will stay the same no matter what time frame you go onto. I prefer indicators like that, that don't change. They stay exactly the same. So for the next... For the next training on Monday, I will talk about the VWAP, and I will show you exactly how we can use the VWAP, and I'll give you the VWAP that I've got, show you how to use it in combination with the indicators we've got. It can be another excellent Confluence, and I will show you, and you can play around with it. You don't want to use too many indicators, but I will introduce you to ones that work well, and then you can find out ones that work well. And it's all about developing your own personal strategy as a trader. But the VWAP is an excellent tool because it also shows you the difference between the the sentiment of buyers and sellers. So for instance, the daily VWAP, if you're above the VWAP line, it's showing bullish nature. If it's below it, it's showing bearish nature. So it is an excellent confluence to use. And I'll cover that on the Monday training. Next question, is there a way we can get indicator for ranging coins similar to the pivot channel? It is coming. The new indicator that I'm working on is basically going to be an app you will get, and you'll be able to scroll through the app, and then you'll be able to find all the best wide pivots, all the best narrow pivots. So that is coming. The next question. Hi Seth, I tried to add a setup for DYDX to the Discord channel, trade setups, but it won't allow me to load the picture. Okay, cool. I will have a look at that and fix that. Next question. Hi Easy Algo. I can see that you are only using the percentage minimum time frame. Can with trade with only one set of time frame, or look for confluence with a higher time frame? You can look for confluence of the higher time frame, but the only reason I wasn't because I was using the Trendex. If you're using Trendex, you don't actually have to be on the higher time frames, because Trendex shows you, like, if you're above a weekly pivot, you know that it's bullish. You don't actually need to look at the higher time frames, because Trendex is basically doing that for you. You can look on the higher time frame confluences. If, like, based on the previous, all the training I've done for Indicator X is showing you other ways to find out the market bias, and we look at the higher time frames a lot. You can look at the higher time frames on your charts, but it's not necessary if you have Trendex open. Crypto Chris says, Seth, you built a Euphoria indicator. I have. It's been my plan all along. Okay, cool, guys. That is all the questions. That is the training for today. Thank you for joining. I hope you got a lot of value. I'm going to get offline now, and I'm going to just finalize the scanner indicator, and that I will make live for you guys super soon. So stay tuned. And I will also make an announcement into the group about the lifetime special that I'm going to offer to members in the group. Take care, guys. Chat to you in the group, and all the best.